Tank is really glad that it rained today, because he said it was going to rain, and we went inside. So if we would have gone inside and it didn't rain, guess what Tank would have got? I know you all think you get it sometimes, but he'd have really got it, because it wouldn't have been on the air. Just think about that one. You know, I really feel that the last 2 days we sort of turned the corner. I was a little disappointed, I guess, 2 practices ago, not yesterday, not today. Felt like we didn't respond very well and handle the circumstances out there, the heat, and didn't practice as well as we need to, didn't get the kind of execution that we needed to get. But, you know, yesterday and today, I think a lot of players responded, pushed themselves through it, especially with the idea that school started. A lot of other things going on with them right now that are important things in their life, but we certainly have been pleased and happy with the progress that we've been able to make in the last 2 practices. And tomorrow we'll try to do a lot of polish, not really install anything else or work on anything else. We've been spending a little bit of time working on opponents' problems, that things that we don't see from our offense, things that our offense doesn't see from our defense, and also special teams things that are issues and problems. And so that's been a little bit challenging for the players, and I think that's probably a good thing. But tomorrow will be polish and have the last scrimmage that we will have, even though we may have some situational things between now and the game. But so I feel like we have a couple guys that Dre Kirkpatrick has a little pull muscle. He's a day-to-day guy. Hadn't practiced for 2 days. Mays missed 1 practice. He was fine today. Julio sprained his ankle a little bit, but he hadn't missed any practice. Roy Upchurch has a little bit of a pulled muscle. He's missed a couple days of practice, but nothing serious. Should be back day-to-day. Is there anybody else? I'm sure you'll ask me. Anybody else you see in a black shirt that you guys really get concerned about? You know, I'm going to comment on Courtney Upshaw, and then I'm not really going to answer any questions about it. You know, let me start with the fact that this is as fine a young man as we have in the program. Really a great person. Really works hard academically. You know, couldn't ask anybody to be a better representative of the organization than he is. Really overachieves as a football player and has done a really good job for us in our organization. I think he was put in a little bit of an uncompromising position, and he didn't handle it very well. He obviously made a mistake in how he handled the situation, and I think that nobody feels worse about it than he does. We'll obviously handle this internally. I've discussed it with him. He knows what his punishment is. He knows what his penalty is. He knows what he's going to have to do. He's never had any other issues or any problems academically, socially, or as a football player. So he's not going to be suspended over this. He is on behavioral probation, and he does have things to do internally in the program to learn from the mistake that he made. And hopefully our entire team can learn something from the mistake that he made. So, you know, we've obviously had an addition with school starting of 20 to 25 new players. Kellen Williams, scholarship player who was not cleared medically to start the fall camp, and is probably still several weeks away from maybe full go, but able to do some functional things out there. And we have a lot of other walk-ons, quite a few that have been in the program before, and this will definitely help our ability to prepare for games down the road with the additional depth and numbers that it gives us. Well, you know, there's good and bad in both, and I think we have a unique situation here, probably as perfect a situation as you could have. I am a proponent of student athletes being a normal part of the student body. But yet, when somebody has an issue, those athletes end up on ESPN and on the front page of the newspaper. And when a normal student has an issue or a problem, nobody even knows their name. So we can say we want them to be like everybody else, and their college experience should be the same, and I wish that for all of them, because it is a great time in their life. They probably have more freedom and not the same kind of responsibilities they're going to have later in their life. That's what we're trying to prepare them for. But at the same time, I think that being able to have internal programs that help players with their discipline, with their commitment to a standard and responsibility that they have to represent the organization, the program, their family, themselves, their own name, are all things that we try to do to not have issues and problems. And I think having a place like Bryan Hall, which is over 50% normal students, helps us be able to do that. Having an academic facility that's close by, having a lot of people that can positively impact these types of things, but it still comes down to a matter of priority, individual judgment, and accountability on their part to make the right choices and decisions. I've said this before to you. We all have freedom of choice, but we don't all have freedom of consequences for whatever choices we make. And sometimes, even if you're right, it's not worth it to be right. So because the consequences can be difficult to deal with in the future and can have an effect on your future opportunities.
Coach, not to nitpick, but with Upchurch and Kirkpatrick's, that hamstring, you said pulled muscle.
It's a pulled muscle. We usually don't get specific about injuries. I'm going to call Frank Beamer when this is over and tell him exactly what's wrong with every guy so they can go pull on their leg and get him messed up in the game. He probably gets the Mobile paper, so maybe I don't have to call him. If I tell you, you can just put it in there and then he'll get it straight from that. But we're never specific about injuries. If somebody's going to be out for an extended period of time, or they have a significant injury that's going to require some kind of surgery, then we'll tell you what it is and how long they're going to be out and all that. But when a guy's going to be out for a day or two, I don't think that he's got a pulled muscle. And if that's not good enough, I'll just tell you he's going to be out for a day or two. Then you won't know anything about it.
And are they going to be limited, these guys, on Saturday, you think, or are you going to let them go?
They're day to day. So we're hopeful that they'll be back and be able to scrimmage. And I think in some cases they will, but you've got to manage it day to day and see how they do. But I'm really, really pleased with, Mark Ingram's had a fantastic camp, and Trent Richardson has had a fantastic camp and doing a really good job, and so has Terry Grant. So there's a lot of competition at that position, and Roy's been a really good player for us, and we'd love to get him healthy so he can get out there and compete as well.
All right, just one more thing just to narrow it down. Roy's issue is not his neck.
No.
Okay.
Unless he's got some different kind of muscles in his neck, then, I don't think you had to ask.
Hey, Coach.
I'd have said he's got a problem with his neck if he had a problem with his neck.
Can you just talk about the transformation on defense you guys have made from the time you got here to where it is now, one of the top in the country? And can you just talk about that process and everything that contributed to it?
Well, where it is now is we gave up 31 points the last two games we played, so even though we were one of the top teams in the country, the last two times we played, we didn't, and we played against pretty good offensive teams, but I think we need to do better. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I think that we made progress in the first year relative to our system and the way that players bought into it. I was really proud of the way we played defense last year for the most part, and to get ranked nationally in several different categories and actually lead the nation in a couple categories speaks a lot to the pride that the players have and the kind of defense that they want to play here, and the quality of the players that we have and how disciplined and accountable and responsible they are to executing and doing things together. But this year's team, regardless of how many players are coming back from last year's team, there's a new chemistry there, and they're going to have to go prove all the same things by how they play, and we're going to play some very challenging competition, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond to it.
Coach, could you elaborate a little bit on how the running backs have done, and if you feeling pretty good about, how that situation, and also you talked about Trent has done well. You've been pretty pleased with how he was prepared coming into fall camp and all that?
I'm very pleased with the way Mark Ingram has performed, throughout camp. He had a very good camp. Trent has definitely had a very good camp, and if he can continue to learn and grow and mature as a football player, he's certainly a guy that can make a contribution to the program this year. We know what Roy has done in the past, and he has made a real impact in a lot of different ways on our team. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to practice the last couple practices, but he was doing fairly well prior to that. And Terry Grant has done a really good job, and has done a really good job for us on special teams, as has Roy Upchurch. So I'm pleased with what those guys have been able to do and how they've progressed, and I think they are guys that can be playmakers on our offense, and I think it's going to be important that we can get them the ball and put them in a position where they can make plays.
All right, last one. How's Saturday going to be different than last Saturday?
Well, we'll have a little bit more move the field stuff, but we don't scrimmage a lot different ever. Sometimes we change the situations that we actually scrimmage. We have ended every practice for the last week with some end of the game or end of the half situation. You either win or you lose. Whether it's a 2-minute situation, whether it's get the ball back for the defense so that we have a chance to go 2 minutes at the end of the game when we're behind. And we'll take some of those situations and practice them. Because some of them that you need practice on, those situations don't always come up in a normal scrimmage. For instance, we may go through the whole scrimmage and never practice goal line. Well, maybe we want to scrimmage goal line. We may go through the whole scrimmage and never really ever get a field position where we got to come out from the goal line. We may do a get the ball back 4-minute type situation where one team has to stop and call timeouts. We get the ball, similar to the Arkansas game a few years ago, and go 2 minutes and try to score to win the game. So there'll be some of those types of situations that go with the regular move the field, regular game situations. The staff organization and communication will probably be a little bit more game specific in this particular scrimmage, but just so that we're all used to what our assignments and roles are, at least for a portion of the scrimmage. And I think it's, from a personnel standpoint, there's always going to be a little different emphasis on who we need to look at, how many plays they're going to get, how many reps we're going to give them. So that hasn't really been decided on yet.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you.